Alright, Shalom Israelites, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Israelites, I want to do this video, man, about the prophecies. You know, it's a bunch of them, man, about our restoration. Now, this is the thing, that if Almighty Yah made prophecies while we was on the land about our restoration, then it mean we was gonna go into captivity, and we wasn't smart enough to recognize that. And then I can kind of pinpoint when the prophecies started to come in, man, about us being restored to the promised land by some of the prophets, and that it was a known fact. You know, the Creator already had it in his heart that we wasn't going to make it on the promised land to do the job that he had gave us under the covenant that we got from, you know, when we exited Egypt. So, you know, the Creator know everything, and he even told Prophet Moses that we would break the covenant, and we know breaking the covenant means getting expelled from the land. Now I'm gonna do a video probably on that one day, showing how many times he said we was gonna get kicked out the land, how many times he said we was gonna get kicked out the land for not doing the covenant that he gave us. You know, we're supposed to be in a priestly nation and draw all nations to him, and that's how the Creator subdued the whole earth, through his worshiping him. And that how we Israelites didn't hold on to that agreement that we made with the Creator when he freed us from oppression in Egypt. Now, you know, it's a lot of prophecies, man, about, you know, about us Israelites, you know, being restored, and this was before we was kicked off the land. So, you know, we waiting on those prophecies to come to pass now, because we have filled the prophecies concerning being kicked off the land. We done fulfilled, man, a bunch of those prophecies. All those prophecies been fulfilled concerning captivity, and that's the blessings and curses in the book of Deuteronomy. You know, but this is what I want to show, you know, how that basically after the death of King Josiah, after the death of this king right here, King Josiah, that, man, it was a wrap for us. It was a wrap for us. You know, it was a wrap for us after this king, around about 640, you know, around about that time. We was constantly told that our end had came, and that it was over for us Israelites. And King Josiah, if you read his history, I think it's 2 Chronicles 34, that you will see that he tried to cleaned up the Egyptian religion. He cleaned up the Amorite, Canaanite, Babylonian religion that was in our land, and it was like a fresh start, a new start. But that how we Israelites didn't hold true to the covenant, and we wanted to do the Egyptian religion, and you know, that caused us to get expelled out the land. We had to get off the land because we couldn't do Egyptian religion on covenant land. But I want to show that basically after King Josiah's death is when our end came, but it was prophecies way before then about how we would be restored, which let you know that Almighty Yah already had it that we was gonna get kicked out the land and have to go into the punishment that we're in now in order to be restored and be righteous. You know, but look here, if you Israelites look at this timeline with King David, you know, I'm gonna go into the Tanakh history. We know that during Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, in the Torah's history, that, you know, it was warnings of telling of what would happen if we broke the covenant. Prophet Moses stipulated that clearly in the blessings and curses. You'll find a whole bunch of scriptures in Deuteronomy telling us that, hey, if we don't do right when we get in the land, that we're going to get kicked out the land and go into a bondage that ain't never been, seen before on the face of the earth, where humans will be treated like cattle and animals and so forth. And then that's what happened to us. But, after Prophet Moses passed away and Joshua get in the land, Prophet Moses and Joshua, they had the understandings that we would be, in the land, and that they didn't think that we would get kicked out the land when we exodus Egypt and was going into the promised land, that they, understood that we would be there, and that understanding was there all the way down to about Solomon's time. About Solomon's time is, and then when the kingdom split, then you start getting these prophets right here, start telling us that how we would be restored after being taken into captivity, and then they kept giving us that warning. So that warning basically started after Solomon's death, and the kingdom broke up, and then them prophets start, coming about, as you can see that the tribes of Israel, after the kingdom split, that we had Elijah, Micah, Elisha, Jonah, Amos, and Hosea gonna be kind of like the last prophet for the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes, and he left a little message about our return and us being restored and so forth. But basically, we start getting messages about how we was, gonna get restored to the land while we was on the land. These prophets made these prophecies about the Israelites being restored after being taken out the land and taken to different places in captivity, and then those messages start kicking in after a Solomon death. Man, I say around about 853 BC, the prophet Obadiah gonna be kind of like the first one that, well, I ain't gonna say just the first one, but kind of like, close to the first one to start giving the restoration prophecies and so forth. The restoration prophecies, man, and I'm gonna go to it, and then Prophet Obadiah be around about 853 BC. And now let's look and see 853 BC. That's gonna, start being around about the bad king's time, because Jehoshaphat was good, and Asa was good, and Jehoshaphat was good. And then, when they good, man, it's like, there's no need to talk about being taken off the land, because we think that goodness is going to be continuous. But when that leader die and then his son come on and don't follow the ways and the laws of the Creator, then those prophecies about destruction start coming in and so forth. And we see, look, Jehoshaphat, 870 to 8. So Prophet Obadiah gonna come around right after Jehoshaphat, you know what I'm saying? And then he gonna give his oracle and so forth. So this will be around about that time. You know what I'm saying? We got some bad kings on when Prophet Obadiah started giving his message. And y'all seen the timeline. Now let's look up Prophet Obadiah's history and timeline, and I'm going to read some of it. Terrible thing is that we Israelites couldn't keep the law, and basically keeping the law was just not worshiping other gods that our enemies hold in value and so forth. Very simple things mean to do with worshiping the Creator. It's not to hold no other deity or God, Son, and none of that stuff in high esteem, and to look down upon it because there's only one Creator. But look here, Prophet Obadiah. And then as you read Prophet, oh look, it's 853 BC. So then it's gonna come during the times of the bad kings in Judah, and whenever the bad kings come on, that's when them prophecies of getting kicked out the land start coming about. And then when they start making prophecies about getting kicked out the land, then you kind of know it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen because they done prophesized about it. And then that's what started to happen to us. And then we wasn't doing right. But when you read Prophet Obadiah's history, and then it goes into the Edomites taking our land after we been driven out, and then how that they will have control of our land until Almighty Yah called us back, and then how we would, get even with Edom for getting our land after we was expelled for breaking the covenant and so forth. And look here, I'm gonna read some of it. This is one where then I read, you know what I'm saying, the vision of Obadiah. This said the Elohim Yah concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Elohim, and ambassador sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. All right, when we get them down, look. All right, so when we get to 11, say, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was as one of them. See, Edom was with them folks that helped expel us from the land. Is how they got control of our heritage and so forth. And I got videos showing Edom claiming the Israelite heritage, and been doing it officially since 130 BC under John Harnicus. Look, but thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger, neither should thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction, neither shouldst thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yeah, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldst thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldst thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. For the day of the Elohim is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drank of my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yeah, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Now we know that the house of Jacob ain't possessed anything since the covenant was broken during the Babylonian wars, and we was driven off the land and enslaved, and that how we have not been restored, and that the people that's claiming Israelite heritage now are the strangers that we abandon our heritage to, and how that they don't fit none of the curses and none of the history and so forth. All right. In the house of, let me see, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. And the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Elohim has spoken it. And they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they in the plain of the Philistines, and they shall possess the fields of Ephraim and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead, and the captivity of this host of the children of Israel shall possess the land of the Canaanites. See, he's telling you about a captivity that the Israelites will be in and what would happen afterwards. And in 853 BCE, we was on the land, and we had about a good almost 280 years left on the land before we was driven out. And this come to pass and so forth around 588 BC during the Babylonian Wars, or in the book of Jeremiah. Okay. Now let's get to the we see how the prophet Obadiah was in 853 BCE, and that this was way before we was kicked off the land by almost 300 years, and that how that the prophecies of being driven out started coming after the kingdom was split. After Solomon's death, then the prophets start popping up. Before then the prophets would just pop up and give the king guidance and tell him what he ain't doing right and so forth. Or a prophet will pop up and tell us that we was finna be saved from the bondages and the little captivities we was in with the tribes that we didn't destroy. But after the split, then you start getting prophecies about us going into a captivity before it happened and what would happen after that. All right. So, we know that, Prophet Obadiah, was kind of like, he gonna start being the first ones, because the prophet Isaiah, Hosea, and all them, they gonna come after that. But let me show you, Israelites, how our end was prophesied also. I mentioned that how after King Josiah was killed, he was a prophecy king that was prophesied to clean up the Egyptian religion. And then he come about almost 300 years later, after Jeroboam, during Jeroboam's time. That'd be 931 to 910 BCE. He ruled 22 years. That it was a prophecy to about a child being born by the name of Josiah that'd get rid of the Egyptian religion and clean the land up. All right, that come about, and that was our last chance to be right. And then let me show you, Israelites, what would happen after that and what was said. After that, man, if you go to, man, I think it's Ezekiel 7. Let's see what Ezekiel 7 will say. Ezekiel number 7. Let's see what he got to say. Now, this is after the death of King Josiah. And then this was said, because we couldn't stop doing the Egyptian religion. We wouldn't stop doing it. We wouldn't stop doing the idol worship and so forth. And this was said. Moreover, this is Ezekiel 7. He gonna be the first wave. He gonna be the first Israelites to start going into captivity. It is around about 595 BCE, after King Josiah was killed by the Egyptians. Look, moreover, the word of the Elohim came unto me, saying, also thou son of man, this saith the Elohim Yah unto the land of Israel, and the end is come upon the four corners of the land. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send my anger upon thee, and I will judge thee according to thy ways, and I will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. But you see what it say? The end is come upon the four corners of the land. and the end came up on the four corners of the land real fast for us. It's like we didn't stay there no time. 820 years from the time that we exodus in 14, I think 46 or 43, all the way to 588 BC. We didn't stay there no time. But you see, it says the end has come. Now that's kind of like the first time. And then when you go to the book of that'll be the book of Lamentations. The book of Lamentations. The book of Lamentations, you know what I'm saying? When we go to it, this is during the Babylonian wars, and we are being driven off the land. We are being driven off the land. Matter of fact, it tell you in detail the things that was happening to us while we was being driven off the land. This is Prophet Jeremiah's recording this history and so forth. But if you go to Jeremiah, Lamentations, and then that'll be 4:18. Let me see what it says. As for us, our eyes as yet fail for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They hunt our steps, that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Our end is come. Now, this is during the Babylonian wars when Ashkenaz was at us under the name Scythian. They was at us under the name Scythian because we couldn't stop doing the Egyptian religion that Almighty Yah sent for the worst of the worst to get us out of our heritage and up off the land. And you see it says the end has come. So if the end has come and we eventually get driven out the land and go into captivity, then it's got to be prophecies about restoration. I'm going to read some of them, but let's see what it says. It says this in 720 and 766 BCE by the prophet Amos. Let's see what Amos got to say. Let's see what Amos got to say. And it'll be 8. Man, I turned right to it. 8:12. Amos 8:12. 8:2. Amos sweets. And he said, a basket of summer fruit. Then said the Elohim unto me, the end is come upon my people of Israel. I will not again pass by them anymore. So the end was coming, and this was before the northern kingdom got invaded by the Assyrians and the 3 fighting tribes that protected the land was protecting the Egyptian worship, and then they got snatched off and took to Assyria. They come back doing what's called the saith history. But you see, the end had came. The end had came, and it was a prophecy for us to get off the land. And let me show y'all how serious Almighty Yah was with getting us off the land when we broke the covenant for Egyptian religion. Is that you go to Jeremiah 8. Jeremiah 8. And it says this. At that time saith the Elohim, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Judah, and the bones of his princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves, and they shall spread them before the sun and the moon and all the host of heaven, whom they have loved, and whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and after whom they have sought, and whom they have worshipped. And they shall not be gathered, nor be buried. they shall be for dung upon the face of the earth. Now, they ain't got no prophet bones. They ain't got King David bones. They ain't got none of the Israelite bones, because after we broke the covenant, everything about us had to get off the promised land. That's why come when they be finding bones and they be holding them Amorite bones up that the Sephardi's are and say, look, we've been here for thousands of years, and then we don't have none of y'all bones, and then we only have our bones and our DNA. That's a con game, because they know that the Creator, kicked our bones out the land, and then that happened when the Syrians, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and everybody came into the land, and they was familiar with our history and know that we had a lot of gold and so forth at one time, and they would dig down in the graves looking for the gold, and then they'd throw the bones out and leave them, making those prophecies come to pass. So everything about us had to get off the land, and it happened because we are in captivity now. I show in plenty videos how the Israelites ran into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, bringing us to an end, bringing the land to an end, and then that'll be this right here. You go to Jeremiah 44. Look. Let me get it out the Tanakh, because they didn't use that old messed up name that they use in the King James Version and so forth when they try to say that some Jews was there, and we know that, that didn't happen. And look, this is the Tanakh. Look, the JPS Tanakh. All right, we're going to see what it says. All right, it says, in the word which came to Jeremiah, this is Jeremiah 44. The word which came to Jeremiah and all the Judeans living in the land of Egypt, living in Midigo, Tapanas, and Noph, and in the land of Pithros. This said the Elohim of hosts, the Yah of Israel. Ye have seen all the disaster that I have brought on Jerusalem and all the towns of Judah. They are a ruin today, and no one inhabits them, on account of the wicked things they have done to vex me, going to make offerings in worship of other gods, in which they had not known, neither they nor their fathers. Yet, but you see how they say Judeans, and then how this over here is kind of like misleading. Look, the word of the Elohim came to Jeremiah concerning all the, look, you see that, which dwell in the land. But you see how it says, this is the Elohim of hosts, the Yah of Israel. Ye have seen all the evil that I have brought upon Jerusalem and upon all the cities of Judah. And behold, this day they are a desolation, and no man dwelleth therein. No man dwelleth therein. No man dwelleth therein, and we got kicked out the land. Look, I believe I could pull some more verses up showing that we would be kicked out the land, which would make sense to have prophecies of our restoration and so forth, and us coming back. And I can't wait till I get into some of those verses. But let's look at this and see what this 4, what's that, 4:1? That'll be 4, 7, 28. Let's see what this say. Let me see. Circumcise yourselves to the Elohim, and take away the foreskin of your heart, ye men of Judah, and inhibitors of Jerusalem, lest my fury come forth like fire, and burn that none can quench it, because of your evil doings and so forth. Alright. Now that's 7. The lion is come upon his ticket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy city shall be laid waste without inhabitant. Look, thy land shall be, the lion is come upon from hit the ticket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make thy land desolate, and thy cities shall be laid waste without an inhabitant. And then that happened during the Babylonian wars when them folks right there chased us out under the name Scythian. That's Ashkenazi right there. All right, let's see what 28 say. All right, 28 say, for this shall the earth mourn, and the heavens above be black, because I have spoken it, I have proposed it, and I will not repent, neither will I turn back from it. The whole city shall flee for the noise of the horsemen and bowmen. They shall go into thickets and climb upon the rocks. Every city shall be forsaken, and not a man shall dwell therein. This us going into Africa. These prophecies come to pass right here. Look, the whole city shall flee for the noise of the horsemen and the bowmen. They shall go into thickets and climb up upon the rocks, and every city shall be forsaken, and not a man dwell therein. Well, our end had came. Our end had came. You remember me reading the verses, saying that our end had come. Our end had come. Let's see what 7:3 say. This is the Elohim of hosts, the Yah of Israel. Amend your ways and your doings, and I will cause you to dwell in this place. Meaning that if you don't, you're going to get kicked out. Let's see what 10 say. And it come and stand before me in this house which is called by my name, and say, we are delivered to do all this abomination in this house which is called by my name. No, that's not it. 7, 3, 10, 18. Yeah, but there's plenty of verses showing that we was going to get kicked out of the land, and then how it come to pass during the Babylonian wars. Now, let's look at some of these prophecies as I showed you with Obadiah, how he made the prophecy of us coming back home before we got kicked out the land, and that how it was prophecies for us to come back. And once the curses had took places and stuff, so we know Obadiah was in 853 BC, and we're going to see what Prophet Joel had to say. He going to be in 835 BCE. Now, this is after the kingdom split. The kingdom split. And we Israelites going down and finna be kicked out the land. And these prophets that's, telling us, hey, to do right, and what's going to happen, give us the message that how we will be restored in the end. All right, and if we go to, what's that, Hosea 2:21, let's see what it say. And look when it come about. Now this is Joel 8:53. And then we go to 21. And it says, fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for the Elohim will do great things. Be not afraid, ye beasts of the field, for the pasture of the wilderness do spring for the brethren of the fruit. Be glad, ye children of Zion, and rejoice for your Yah, for he hath given you the former rain mightily, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the later rain in the first months, and the floor shall be full of wheat, and the vats shall overflow with wine, and I will restore to you the years that the locust had eaten, and the crankworm, and the caterpillars, and the plumworms, my great army, which I send among you, and ye shall eat in plenty and be satisfied. Praise the name of the Elohim, your Yah, that had dwelt wondrously with you. And my people shall never be ashamed, and ye shall know that I am the Elohim in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Elohim your Yah, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions, and also the servants upon the handmaids. In those days will I pour out my spirit, and I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, and blood, fire, and pillars of smoke. Then the sun shall turn into darkness, and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Elohim. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Elohim shall be delivered. For Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance. And the Elohim had said, in the remain whom the Elohim shall call. So, we know we're going to get restored one day. Let me see. For behold, in those days, and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, and I will also gather all nations. So, this prophet Joel in 835 BCE was talking about us being restored, knowing that we was going to get kicked out one day, and how we didn't listen to him. None at all. And then we go to Amos. Amos is going to be in 766 BCE. And then let's see what he got to say, man, about our restoration. About our restoration and us going home one day and doing right and being righteous by our Almighty Yah. Alright? This is Amos. And Amos was in, let's see, in 766 BCE, like I said. Alright, and let's go to 9. Amos 9. For lo, I will command, and I will shift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is shifted in a sheaf, yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. In that day will I rise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and will build it as in the days that they may possess the remain of Edom. Now he basically corresponding with Prophet Obadiah said, who had gave a message 100 years, 100 years before Amos come on giving his testimony. You can see how it say that we're going to get that land Edom got. That ain't came to pass, but I can see how that can easily come to pass. Alright? Man, we go to Hosea. Man, Hosea gonna be in 753 BCE, and this is gonna get close to the time of prophet Isaiah, who gives the main message in the prophet Ezekiel's time, who come like maybe 100, 200 years after prophet Isaiah in Micah. Alright, so then we go to Hosea 14, and let's see what it say. Now this is about our restoration and so forth, and how he give a message, man, about our destruction, man, before it come full during the Babylonian wars and so forth, and how did him giving us that message would be like almost 200 years, before the Babylonians, these folks drive us out the land. Yep, just before these folks drive us out the land. Alright, so let's read this. O Israel, return unto the Elohim thy Yah, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity. Take with you words, and turn to the Elohim. Say unto him, take away all iniquity, and receive us graciously, so will we render the cows of our lips. Assure shall not save us. We will not ride upon horses, neither will we say any more to the work of our hands. We are our gods, for in thee the fatherless findeth mercy. I will heal their backsliding. I will love them freely, for my anger is turned away from him. I will be as the dew unto Israel. He shall grow as the lily, and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. His branches shall spread and his beauty shall be as the olive tree, and his smell as Lebanon. They that dwell under his shadow shall return. They shall revive as the corn and grow as the vine. The scent thereof shall be as the wine of Lebanon. Ephraim shall say, what have I to do any more with idols? I have heard him and observed him. I am like a green fir tree. For me is the fruit found. Who is wise, and he shall understand these things, prudent, and he shall know them. For the ways of the Elohim are right, and the just shall walk in them, for the transgressors shall fall therein. So, it's a prophecy that we're going to come back home, and we're going to be righteous and do right. And all this was said before we was kicked out the land and went into the curses, which it was a prophecy for. Before it was told that we would be resurrected and do right. Man, ain't that something? Alright. So now we go to Isaiah 14. And then let's read some of this. This is around, Prophet Isaiah gonna be, around about 730, I think 739 BCE. And we on the downhill, and it's about getting close to being over when he give his message. All right, so his message, let's see. Man, this goes from 739 to 701 BCE. We on the countdown. This is almost like, it's 180 years, before we was driven out the land. All right, so we get to Prophet Isaiah constantly telling us the wrong that we doing in Israel and Judah, and how we need to be right and so forth. And he knew we was gonna get kicked out the land and go into a captivity too. So he left this message right here. This is Isaiah 14. For the Elohim will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. See, we was in our land then. And when he gave this message, the northern kingdom hadn't been kidnapped by the Assyrians yet, and so forth. But it was gonna happen by about 10 years later. Look, for the Elohim will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Elohim for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors with truth. And righteousness is how we gonna rule over our oppressor, because he don't have those qualities and so forth. And that's what he trying to keep us from getting. Look, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Elohim shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from thy hard bondage, wherein thou wast made to serve. Meaning that we had broken the covenant and got chased out of the land, and now we was being restored. These are prophecies right here that come after King David, because before King David, and after King David, and before, they didn't have no knowledge of us going into a captivity, getting beat up, and how they thought we would always be there and so forth. But after we continuously worshiped the Egyptian religion and broke the covenant for it, that these prophets come about when the kingdom split, and that it was downhill, and how that they giving us messages and prophecies, men of our restoration, which we waiting on now in captivity. Look, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Elohim give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from thy hard bondage, wherein thou was made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? Elohim hath broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he hath ruled the nations in anger, and persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest, and is quiet. they break forth and sing, and yeah, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and so forth. But you know, it talks about our restoration and so forth, and how that they supposed to come and get us and put us on their back, man, and take us home, because you know they know we supposed to be there to worship the Creator. Man, let's go to Isaiah 49 and see what it say. Isaiah 49. All right. Listen, all owls, unto me, and hearken ye people far from far. The Elohim had called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. And he made my mouth like a sharp sword, in the shadow of his hand had he hid me, and made me a polished shaft, in his quiver had he hid me, and said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Then I said, I have labored in vain, I have spent my strength for naught in vain, yet surely my judgment is with Yah, the Elohim, and my work with my Yah. And now said the Elohim that formed me from the womb, to be his servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Elohim, and my Yah shall be my strength. And he said, It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to rise up the tribes of Israel, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light of the Gentiles, that they mayest be my be my salvation unto the end of the earth. This is the Elohim, the Redeemer of Israel, and the Holy One of him that man despise, him whom the nations abhor. To a servant of rulers kings shall see and rise, and princes also shall worship, because of the Elohim that is faithful, in the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee, said the Elohim, in an accepted time, when I heard thee, in a day of salvation. I have helped thee, and I will preserve thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate places, that thou mayest say to the prisoners, Go forth. See, we gonna be restored. We gonna be restored. We gonna be restored, because we done fulfilled all the curses dealing with captivity and so forth. Now we go to Micah 4. Now Micah is around the same time that prophet Isaiah is around and so forth. They doing the same time and stuff. You know, they giving a message the same time. Look, you see, 735 BCE. So let's see what his message about our restoration would be, because these prophets knew we would get kicked out the land one day. Alright? But in the last days it shall come to pass, that the mountain of the house of the Elohim shall be established in the top of the mounts, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it, and many nations shall come and say, Come and let us go up to the mountain of the Elohim, and to the house of the Yah of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Elohim from Jerusalem, and he shall judge among many people, and rebuke many nations afar off, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks, and nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more, but they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Elohim hath spoken it. For all people will walk, everyone in the name of his Yah, and we will walk in the name of the Elohim, our Yah, forever and ever. But you see how we're going to be restored. We're going to be restored, and it's prophecies about us being restored. It's prophecies about us being restored. All right, we're going to go to, that was Micah in 753 BC. We're going to go to Zephaniah and 6. Man, I believe this is 638 BCE, and then see what he got to say. We walking it down. We walk in the restoration verses down. Alright. Zephaniah. Outstanding. Yeah, Israelites, we Israelites messed ourselves up by not just holding true and being righteous with the Creator, and it's easy to be righteous and so forth. Alright, look. You see this, look. 6:38. 6:38. Alright, and then I would read, let me see what I read in 6:38. 3:11. 3:11. In that day shalt thou not be ashamed for all the things wherein thou hast transgressed against me, for then will I take away out of the midst of them that rejoice in the pride, and thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountains. I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of the Elohim. The remainder of Israel shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies, nor speak lies. And now that's important. Look, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth, for they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. So those are prophecies to be righteous when we come back home. You know what I'm saying? Those are prophecies to be righteous. Now, let's go to Jeremiah 31, and this is towards our end. This is towards the end when we finna be driven off the land. When we be, well, I should do Prophet Ezekiel first, because Jeremiah gonna be the last. Jeremiah gonna be the last. Well, Malachi gonna be the last prophecy about our restoration. There's some verses in there. So let's go to, let me just do the Jeremiah because I'm close by. Well, let me keep it in order. So let's go to the book of Ezekiel, and then we're going to go to 20, verse 20, chapter 20, verse 33, and let's see what it say. 20, verse 33. As I live, well, let's see when Ezekiel come about, so you Israelites will know that as time was going down and for us to get kicked out the land, you know that they was giving messages about our restoration. Look, 593 BC to 573 BCE. All right, and then it reads, as I live, said the Elohim Yah, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you, and I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you were scattered with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out, and I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, said the Elohim, and I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant, and I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me, and I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. Ye shall know that I am the Elohim your Yah. Man, that's something. So you ones that don't want to submit to Almighty Yah, know for sure that He's gonna purge you. Know for sure that He's gonna purge you, and that you're not gonna make it to the promised land in disbelief to cause mischief and so forth. You know? So we go to Ezekiel 40. Let's see what 40 say. And then we get down to 44, and without the end. Let me see. And he said this. No, that ain't it. That's not it. 44. Alright, then let's go to Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37 tells you, I think, that this might be about the dry bones. Yep. The hand of the Elohim was upon me and carried me out in the spirit, and the Elohim set me down in the midst of the valley which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry, old, and have been there for a while. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Elohim Yah, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, Prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, Ye dry bones, hear the word of the Elohim. This saith the Elohim Yah unto these bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinew upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover your skin and your breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall surely know that I am the Elohim. So our prophecy, so forth. But all that's our restoration. Our restoration, them dry bones been out for a long time under the sun and so forth, and how my Almighty Yah putting some life in us now. Alright, then we go to 39. And then what 39 say? Therefore, son, let me see, 39:21. And I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, in my hand that I have laid upon them. So the house of Israel shall know that I am the Elohim their Yah from that day and forward. You know what I'm saying? When he bring us home, we're going to know. Alright, and then we go to Malachi. Let's go to the book of Malachi. That's going to be the last book. And he going to have a message. 3:16. Then they that feared the Elohim spoke often one to another, and the Elohim hearkened and heard it. And in the book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Elohim, that thought upon his name. And they shall be mine, said the Elohim of hosts, in that day when I make up my Jews, and I will spare them, as a man spareth his own son that saveth him. Then shall they return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth Yah and him that serveth him not. You know, that's gonna come. That's coming now. Alright, Israelites, we know that after Solomon, that we start getting prophecies about us getting kicked out the land, and that our end would come, and that our end eventually came in the book of Jeremiah during the Babylonian wars. And then how did his prophecies about our restoration? And that's what we're waiting on now. Shalom, Israelites. I hope this video was informative. Shalom from the Israelite Brotherhood.